College Democrat Young Americans for Liberty Candidate Forum. Just give you a quick overview on how we're going to do this. Questions. That's going to help. I'm Casey Reynolds. I'll be your moderator. I have the Casey Reynolds radio show on AM 750 FM 103.7 KFPD every weekday morning from 8 to 11. I'm sure you all listen. So this is what we're going to do. To start off with, we're going to have each of the candidates who's up on stage give a 1 minute opening statement. Tell us anything you want about yourself, your candidacy, which you have too much to prepare, whatever you want to say. Then we're going to do a quick yes, no, A/B answer round where all of the candidates, you guys all have paddles. You got your yes, no paddle? Give it down, no? All right, well, we will effort to get you a paddle. And then we'll do the more long-form questions, which each race will get the same questions over. So 2 candidates on stage that are running against each other, you will get the same question. If your opponent is not here, you will get a question, and then we'll move on to the next person. Portia over here will give you a little sign when your 1 minute mark has been reached, and then when you're 30 seconds, then I'll tell you when your time's up, and we'll just need you to stop right then so we can move on to everybody. To start with, we should have a wireless mic on stage. Who's holding the mic? Who's got the mic? There we go. All right, so we will start with you, and you just want to give us a little 1 minute brief introduction to who you are, what race you're in, and anything you want to tell us.
Well, good afternoon. My name is Roberta Goffner. I'm running for State House from District 26, which is in Eagle River. It's Eagle River, Highland, a little bit of downtown Eagle River, and all the way to the end of Eagle River Road. So we're glad to have Eagle River back in one group, aren't we? Yeah. I am a third-generation Alaskan. My grandmother was in the 1935 territorial legislature, and my grandfather in the 1945 territorial legislature. So through that, I've been involved in politics in Alaska pretty much all my life. I'm a University of Alaska student. I graduated from UAA in 1985 with a BBA in economics. Went over to the competition, got a master's degree, and now I'm back here getting my second bachelor's degree in MIS. Lived in Eagle River for 32 years, have one son, Robert, who is now, don't boo, he's going to the University of Minnesota. Started out in astrophysics, which they don't have here. And my husband is a project manager for a local engineering firm. So,
time.
Thank you.
All right, next, Laura.
Okay, hello, my name is Laura Reinbold, and it's nice to see a lot of familiar faces out there. Thanks for coming tonight. I am also in District 26, which is Eagle River. I was also born and raised here. I graduated from East. We just had our 30th year reunion, and that was fun. I have a Bachelor of Science degree in Business Administration. I worked in the health industry for about 15 years, and then the last 10 years, I've been substitute teaching and transferring overseas and back, and getting deeply involved for the last 10 years on a lot of boards and a lot of committees, trying to make a difference in the community. The reason why I'm running for office is because I think we can do better as a state. I think that we need a fiscal plan, and I think we need to prepare for generations in front of us, and so therefore I'm here to help shape a brighter future for Alaska.
Yeah, hi, my name is Chris Eichenlaub Jr. I'm a network administrator at First National Bank Alaska, having a degree in computer networking and information technology. I'm deeply concerned about the loss of individual freedom, and I hope that I can go to Juneau and do something about it. Thank you.
Lance Pruitt. I am running over in District 25, which is in East Anchorage. It's good to be back here. I mean, it's been a while since I've been here in the student union. I was never here though in this capacity, so it's kind of different being up in front of everyone. I used to get the chance to listen to people. So I grew up here in East Anchorage, actually in East Anchorage, in my district. Whole life has lived in my district, and like I said, went to school here, graduated from here, and then actually got into transportation and logistics, where I'm currently the general manager for Sears Logistics for Alaska. And I've been in the House of Representatives for the last 2 years, representing what's currently named District 21. And I have thoroughly enjoyed it because I think we've had an opportunity to look at some of the key issues that this state has going forward. And I'm running again because I think there's still a lot left to do. And I think there's some things that we can do to give us a great future. We just need to act on some of those things now. So If any of you have questions, feel free to ask me afterwards because I want to make sure that I'm open for you. Otherwise, thank you for being here.
Thank you all for coming out here. I'm Patty Higgins. I'm running for State House in the Abbott Loop area, District 24. I am an Army brat. I moved 30 times before I was 18 years old. I actually started my college career at LSU and moved to Anchorage in 1983 with just 2 more courses to take in geology to graduate, and we didn't have a degree in geology. So I graduated from UAA with about 250 hours. I spent a lot of time in this very room studying and cramming. So education is incredibly important to me. The university is incredibly important to me. One of my first experiences at the university was planning to study for a test till pretty late at night, and then the intercom came on and said the library would close at 8. And I sort of freaked out. So the university is important to me, jobs for Alaskans, infrastructure, and education. So thank you all for coming, and I look forward to talking to you.
Good evening, thank you very much. My name is Dubey. I'm not a career politician. I'm just an engineer trying to make a difference. I've got a master's in business on top of my engineering degree. I choose to be in Alaska. I was born and raised in India. And I tell you, being from a third world country, it truly shows what a special place America is. So why am I doing this? Well, I'm doing this because I'm pro-liberty, pro-business, pro-family, and pro-personal responsibility. And as an engineer, I'm all about start dates, end dates, scope, budget, schedule, and getting stuff done. So I'm not going to give you any big, large promises, but I will tell you this. I am the common man from the street. I have a mortgage, I have a family. When things don't work in Juneau, it affects me directly. So if I get there to Juneau, I'm going to be representing you, not a political party. Thank you very much.
Thank you. My name is Bob Lynn. Currently District 31, the new district will be new District 23. And that will basically go from Huffman to Abbott over to Hillside Drive and a small piece on the other side of the freeway. Should say freeway, I guess, be a new sort. Born in East Los Angeles, makes some of the attitude with me, I guess. I went to the famous Garfield High. That's the one that made famous in the movie Stand and Deliver, and that's some of the attitude that comes with me. Yes, I do have a college degree and worked very hard to get it. Went through school with a wife and 4 kids at that time. We have 6 now, University of Arizona, and worked full-time as a cop. Took 16 units at the school, and some of the classes are 8 o'clock in the morning. So I know what it is to go through school, and it's been very, very valuable to me. I'm currently in the legislature, like I said. I'm chair of the House State Affairs Committee. I serve on the Judiciary Committee, Energy Committee. I'm also, my time is up?
Yes, sir.
Okay, thank you.
Hi, my name is Lisa Vaught, and I'm running for House District 22. District 22 is between New Seward and Minnesota, and then from Tudor out past Diamond to 92nd Avenue. So if you live in that area, I want you to remember that you can vote Vaught. I am pro-business, pro-development, pro-family, pro-life. I am the mother of 6 and the grandmother of 10. Professionally, I do taxes, and I would love the opportunity to serve you, the people in the state legislature. Thank you.
Good afternoon. My name is Mia Costello, and my website is votemia.com. I'm a lifelong Alaskan. I'm a product of the public school system, and I attended Harvard University, and then I returned and received my master's in teaching from the University of Alaska Southeast. I have 2 boys. My husband and I are both pilots, and I've been a teacher in public school, and I've worked with kids who dropped out of high school. I've served in the legislature for 2 years as a member of the House Finance Committee, and on my way in the door here I was thinking, I've spent most of my childhood in the swimming pool right over there. My husband and I are both swimmers, and I was the first Alaskan to go to Olympic trials in swimming as a way to correct a health problem. So anyway, it's a pleasure to be here, and again, I welcome you to visit my website at votemia.com. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Les Guerra. I represent you if you live downtown in Fairview, Government Hill, or Eastridge. I have 2 full-time jobs. One is fishing as much as I can, and the other is working for you in the legislature. I have a core value, and my core value is that everybody deserves opportunity in this world, regardless of whether you're born with money. That means college aid for people who can't afford college. It's something I've fought for many years that we finally passed this year. It means pre-K for families that want that, because a child's brain develops very, very early, and those children who don't start learning till it's too late end up succeeding at very poor rates. So I believe in uplifting everybody, regardless of whether or not you were born with privilege. That informs how I vote when I'm in the legislature. I think the legislature's priorities sometimes are not my priorities. I think there's been a $3 billion capital budget almost every year. Sometimes you just can't spend that much. And sometimes you're spending money on that, and therefore we're one of the few states that doesn't have statewide pre-K. So I work, and I'll keep working on better priorities in the legislature. Thanks.
Hi, I'm Harriet Drummond. I'm running for House District 16, which is roughly Spenard, Midtown, Geneva Woods, Rogers Park. I've served 9 years on the Anchorage School Board. I'm currently in my 5th year serving West Anchorage on the Anchorage Municipal Assembly. I've seen how policy decisions at the state level affect decisions at the local level and budgets incredibly much, and I can contribute solutions in that area. My priorities include jobs for Alaskans, safe neighborhoods, schools, both K-12 and university, affordable energy, smart public investments, and making sure road improvement and development doesn't happen without community input. As a public servant for nearly 14 years, I understand what it takes to be your representative. I want to keep solving problems for you at the state level. I'm Harriet Drummond. It would be my honor to work for my neighbors in House District 16 in the Alaska Legislature. Thank you.
Hi there, my name is Jimmy Crawford. I'm a candidate running in House District 16, and there's a map right in the back there if you'd like to take a look and see if you're in the district. The reasons I'm running, I would like to see some new energy in Juneau. I would like to address education reform, capitalization of small business, and oil tax reform. I think there's a lot of good things that we can be doing for the state right now that some fresh approaches would be good for the state. Thank you.
I'm Andy Josephson. I'm the Democratic candidate for the UMed district. I was born and raised here in Anchorage. I've lived in the state 48 years. I've lived around the state as well, most of it though here in Anchorage. One of the things I think I can bring to Juneau, however, is I can be an urban Alaskan with statewide experience. I served as a rural school teacher for 3 years and a prosecutor in the north in Kotzebue for 2 years. I hold a Master of Arts in Teaching from this fine institution. I also was proud and honored and got a kick out of teaching 6 semesters of constitutional law over at your Justice Center. That was the most enjoyable job I've ever had, and I really enjoyed working with the students here. You know, I want to learn a lot about the university system. I think we can improve the 49er fellows. I think that we can make this campus more walkable. I know that's essential. I think that I want to be accessible to the students, and one of the things I did just last night was make myself available at the Gorsuch Commons to answer any questions you had, so I want to be accessible. Thanks.
My name's Dick Traney. I've lived in Alaska for 40 years. I've raised 8 kids here that all happen to live here. And that's something I would like to see all of us be able to do. Far too often I see people raise their kids and the kids disappear because they can't find a job here. We've got to make sure that our children find jobs in Alaska where they can stay here. Nothing's worse than a grandparent has to fly out to see their kids. The kids should have a job and live here. I've got 14.3 grandchildren. 0.3, according to my children, they're pregnant. One of them's pregnant with another one. It's about 0.3 on the way. So I've been on the assembly for 14 years. Been chairman for 8 years of that time period. What I've noticed is the state tends to short-circuit Anchorage when it comes to what they want us to do, and they don't send the money to accomplish that. Things like the citizen property tax exemption. The state mandates it, but the state doesn't fund it. It just says, Anchorage, you have to give it, but we're not going to fund it. And there are programs across the board the state does that. I intend to make sure that doesn't happen. And I'm out of time. Thank you.
Thank you very much. My name is Barbara Bachmeyer, and I'm running for State House District 13, which due to redistricting now comprises Elmendorf Air Force Base and Muldoon. I am a retired Army officer, a disabled veteran, and a first-time candidate. I'm running as a write-in candidate. I've got materials in the back that you can take a look at to really understand where I stand on various topics. The reason I'm running as a write-in candidate is that my opponent wrongly challenged my residency, and the Division of Elections did not consider my information before they decertified the original candidacy. So I'm running as a write-in, and I've got a lot of people helping me, and I think it's going to be a good race. I hope so. I'm particularly interested in Juneau, working on balanced budgets. We just cannot continue to spend money like there's no tomorrow. I also am very, very interested in energy. Included in that would be making more oil pass through our pipeline. I'm interested in the full spectrum of renewable energy resources that are out there, and the natural gas line. That can't be it. Please look at my materials.
Everyone kept to the time pretty good. You guys at this point in the campaign, let's just have an interim clock kind of debates, right? You just know what's up. So at this point, I want to point out we're going to do some yes/no questions, and then we'll do some more long-form questions, and then we'll try to leave a few minutes at the end if anybody in the audience has questions. But I do want to point out that half of the questions we'll be asking came from the college Democrats, half from the college Republicans. We're going to be choosing them at random. Of course, we're going to be choosing that box back here. So before we ask, we'll tell you whether it was a college Republican or college Democrat question, but which candidate gets which question is completely up to chance. So at this point, get your paddles ready. Do we have? Does everybody have their paddles now? Okay, are you ready? Were you born in Alaska? Yes. Did you go to school in Alaska? Do you own a gun? 10 years ago, did you think you'd be running for office? Don't lie, come on. Okay. Is Alaska too dependent on money from the federal government? Do you pray? Do you support Pebble Mine? Pebble Mine. All right. Okay, fair enough. Some of you, yes, some of you not. Some of you have problems with the question. Fair enough. Do you support a state sales tax? Okay, give me a yes if you prefer the Rolling Stones, a no if you prefer the Beatles. Rolling Stones, yes, Beatles, no. All right, audience, judge for yourself. I'm going to tell you. I thought we should have done the Adele versus Eminem. Give me a yes for Scotch whiskey, a no for vodka martinis. Scotch whiskey, yes. Vodka martinis, no.
But you don't drink any of them.
You don't drink? Okay. Hey, it's the college students that did questions. What do you mean? I would have had an Alaska microbrew on that. We all love Alaska. I do want to point out, since we have that question, there's food and drink in the back, so feel free to get you some. Very generously provided by the college Republicans, college Democrats, and Young Alaskans, or Young Americans for Liberty. So feel free to get some yummies. Now we'll begin with the long-form questions, where you'll be given 2 minutes to give an answer. If two candidates are here from the same race, you'll be given the same question, and each be given 2 minutes. If your opponent isn't here, you'll be given the 2 minutes, and then we'll move on to the next person. So, Portia, give me the first question. Okay, we'll just start down. Where's the mic at? All right, let's just start down with Barbara, and we'll come back down the other side. What role does prayer play in your family life?
Prayer plays a significant role in my life. I was raised Roman Catholic, and that has informed also my positions pertaining to my pro-life stance and my opposition to the death penalty. So I'm the product of the Catholic tradition, and of course prayer is a major component element of that.
Okay, that was a college Democrat question. Let's move on, and I think we have both Trini and Andy Josephson here, so this question, you'll each get 2 minutes for this question. What would you consider the #1 issue in your community, and how would you address it?
The #1 issue, as far as I'm concerned, is the state passing laws that they don't put into effect. They pass a law, then they go home and say, we're done. Whether it's a red stripe for buying alcohol to require the city to make that mandatory, because the state passed it. They put on driver's license, but they didn't enforce it. Look at the senior citizen property tax exemption. The state says we have to give it, but they don't fund it. It's across the board. You'll find programs like that. It's nice for the state to pass laws. I expect them to fund it, or don't pass it.
Okay, Mr. Josephson?
Well, I would say the number one issue facing this community is going to be infrastructure development. You know, we have 300 million people now in the country. We've got 300,000 here in Anchorage. The math is simple in that respect. We know that more people are coming here. We know that they're going to need room, they're going to need jobs, they're going to need roads. I think we need to modernize the infrastructure. I think we need to find some alternatives to vehicles. I think we need to find work for all those people. And they're going to need good, strong education. They're going to need a good, strong university. Juneau has the resources to do that. And we're fortunate in that respect. So I would say infrastructure would be my answer.
And that was a college Republican question. Now we'll move down. I think we have two candidates from the next race as well. So the same thing, you'll be given 2 minutes to answer the question. What is your position on natural resources?
Well, excuse me. And again, it's Jimmy Crawford from District 16. With natural resource development as a state, I mean, we are an owner resource state. We do need to be responsibly developing what we do have in the state. I know right now, kind of the paramount issue with resource development would be oil taxation. Our oil taxation system as it stands right now is stifling production and not getting new investment from industry in our state. And we do need to be addressing that. We need to be revamping the system. What I would like to propose is to repeal ACES as it stands and replace it instead with a production-based, excuse me, I had to clear my throat, with a production-based oil taxation system, a sliding scale that gives direct incentive for producers to produce to the state's needed levels. I think that's what we need to be doing as a state to foster in that oil production, which is the backbone of our state economy.
Excellent.
Thank you. Alaska is run almost entirely on its natural resources. We can't simply export our natural resources. We should be finding a way to add value to as many of our natural resources as possible. For example, fish processing in the state, gas liquefaction in the state before export, oil processing in the state, wood processing in the state. The number one priority in the Constitution is to develop our resources for the benefit of Alaska's people. And it is our job to maximize that benefit by doing the right thing with our natural resources. Thank you.
All right, next we have Representative Guerra. And that was a college Republican question, by the way. Your question, Representative Guerra, how would you best define corporate personhood?
I don't believe that corporations are people. I believe people are people. The Supreme Court, when it issued its ruling in Citizens United, saying that corporations could put unlimited amounts of money into the election system to buy people's votes, I think was a mistake. I think it's damaged this country's election process incredibly. Corporations are simply not people, they're corporations. People donate based on the things that people believe in. Corporations donate based upon what their corporation wants. And that skews the system, I think, in favor of, frankly, those with huge amounts of money, dilutes the vote of people who don't have huge amounts of money, because frankly, if you donate $25 and Exxon puts in $1 million into a campaign, they have more influence than you do. So corporations simply are not people. And anybody who thinks corporations are people should show me a corporation walking. I've never seen that happen. Thanks.
Okay, question from the college Democrats. And, oh, sorry, go ahead. Can we pass the mic down?
Yes, corporations are not people. Corporations are a construct of society to perform a service. They're more like a golem. They're servants to society that perform a specific role. The words "too big to fail" come to mind when I think of golems. You know, when they're weak and servants, they're great, but when they're too big and too powerful, they can be dangerous. That's why that's my opinion on corporations.
Excellent. All right, next I believe is Representative Costello. Your question is, what is your position on the Second Amendment? With an exclamation point.
I'm a strong supporter of Second Amendment rights. I'm a sponsor of a bill in the legislature that made it out of the House last session to allow a person to have the ability to carry a gun. I think that it's an important right that is in our Constitution, and I'm somebody that looks at our Constitution as a way, as a guide in how to conduct ourselves in the legislature, and so I also follow the state Constitution, and I look to our Constitution. In fact, I read it quite regularly just so that I keep it fresh in my mind, because I think it provides us a roadmap of why government was created to begin with. It's to protect rights and liberties that we had before we agreed to enter into government. And so I am proud to be a Second Amendment supporter. Thank you.
That was a question from the College Democrats. Next we have Lisa Vaught, I believe. Your question, how has the progressive movement impacted your social and political policies?
Well, first of all, that question wasn't on my list. And I confess to not knowing what the progressive movement is to say whether or not it's affected my politics. Sorry.
All right. That was a question by the College Republicans. Representative Flynn, what is the difference between conservation and stewardship?
There shouldn't be too much difference between the two. Conservation, we conserve what we have. Stewardship, we take care of it. We steward our resources, we take care of them. From the very simple thing, going to a campground, it looks better when you leave than when you got there. Before we do any natural resource, we make sure we don't damage the environment, and that's a good thing. But we cannot make Alaska into a parkland. We have to develop our natural resources, but we need to be very, very careful when we do it to have the least impact on the environment that's possible.
Okay. Mr. Dubay, that was a College Democrat question. This question for Anand. What should the relationship be between Alaska and the federal government?
Well, it definitely should not be a relationship of master and slave. That's for sure. And right now, the way I see it is that we are heavily dependent on the federal government, and regardless of what people think, that's a fact. So the idea is, can we not take federal money? We always have to take some federal money, but the devil is always in the details. So I believe that it should be an optimal mix, if you will. It's like a data point. If it goes too much to the left, it's not good. If it's too much to the right, it's not good. So the idea would be to take money that can be used for the benefit of the Alaskan people, and not necessarily money that cannot be sustained. So for example, a lot of times we'll take federal funds, yet when the state takes takes federal funds, and they have to match it, and that in of itself leads to excessive state budgets. So overall, we got to remember, the feds don't get money from heaven. It is our taxes. So somebody's got to say, hey, look, enough is enough, and somehow we got to control the deficit. So I think as far as I'm concerned, as a citizen of Alaska and America, I want to say, hey, let's just take just the optimal amount, not too much, not too little.
We can agree the permanent fund comes from heaven, all right?
Say that?
I said we can agree the permanent fund comes from heaven, all right?
Right. Sure.
That was College Republicans. The next question from Ms. Higgins. What is your position on gun rights on campus?
Well, I think the university itself has some history and background, and they're in the best position to decide what that should be. This is a place of learning, and students should be safe here.
Okay, that was College Republicans. Next we have Representative Pruitt. How do you best see rural Alaska development proceeding?
I think rural Alaska has some great opportunities. I had the chance to work alongside Representative Foster as the co-chair of the Energy Committee. And what was great about the Energy Committee is we saw that when we got into the hands of some of these people in the rural communities, some of these sources of energy that were not necessarily diesel, we gave opportunities to these groups. And I think the state is working really hard to help these groups out, to help the different villages and the communities out there. And the one thing that we're falling short on is we're doing a terrible job of educating the people that live in the rural areas. That's one of the things that the state has to focus on, because there are some really smart people out there, really, that if we give them the opportunity, I think we can see some even stronger development of ideas out there in those rural areas.
Okay. That's gone down. Mr. Ryan Gold. And that was a College Democrat question. For you, the question is, every 10 years, Alaskans vote on whether or not we should have a constitutional convention to make changes to our founding state document. Please explain if you will vote yes or no, and why.
Okay, in regards to the Constitutional Convention, I am not a supporter. I will be voting no on the Constitutional Convention. However, I do support amendments made to the Constitution that follow the law.
Okay. Next, that was a College Republican question. Next, which federal program would you like to...
Excuse me.
I'm sorry.
Do I get to answer?
Oh, I'm sorry. You guys are the same race?
Well, yeah, I know the speaker's kind of...
I apologize. Go ahead.
No, that's okay.
Are you going to vote for a constitutional convention? And so...
At this point, I'm undecided as to whether or not I'll vote for a constitutional convention. I know, have had the good fortune to know some of the people who actually were a part of the Constitutional Convention and actually helped write the Constitution. And it was done very carefully with a lot of forethought, a lot of research. And I think we have a great Constitution. On the other hand, I know that there are some issues that people are looking at that they would like to see some changes made in the Constitution. My fear is that if we do open up the Constitution and have a constitutional convention, that we will end up putting in provisions that actually restrict the rights of Alaskans, and that is really not what a Constitution is for. A Constitution really sets a parameter and a framework and guarantees and protects rights, and so I guess I want to be a part of the debate. I want to see what the issues are, and at that point then we'll make a decision as to whether or not I vote for it.
Okay. At this point, we want to make sure we have time to get questions from the audience. So if anybody would like to step up to the microphone, we'd ask you to direct your question to a specific candidate or a specific race so that we can get some specific answers back. But if you have a question you'd like to answer, just step up to the microphone, and we'll give each candidate, or in the case where both candidates are here, both of them 2 minutes to answer the question.
Hello. My name is Arturo. I live in the Government Hill area, and I wanted to know if any other candidates see any gentrification problem in the government.
Did you want to direct that to any particular candidate or race?
Well, particularly to the candidate that represents the Government Hill area.
That would be Mr. Guerra.
Yes, can I repeat the question?
Do you see any gentrification problems in the Government Hill area?
Certainly, government...
Oh, can we pass Representative Guerra's microphone?
Yeah, this goes back to my original statement, which is there's a role in government to level the playing field so everybody has a chance at opportunity in this world. Everybody has a chance at a good job. Everybody has a chance at a college education. And if you can't afford those things, there should be aid for job training. There should be aid for college. And those are things I voted for. And those are things that actually passed last year. There is gentrification in government help. You know, you have $400,000 houses next to very low-income apartment buildings, for sure. And that's an indication to me that the people who work hard every single day but can't afford a house do not have the opportunity that they would aspire to. So there's gentrification there's gentrification in many places, but the underlying issue is, what do you do about it? You can't stop somebody from building a nice house next to a smaller house, but you can give everybody opportunity. You can't make everybody succeed, but you can give everybody the tools, and I believe in that very strongly.
Okay. I think we pass the mic back down to Mr. Eichenlaub. The same question, your position on gentrification, do you see any happening and your thoughts?
Yeah, I'm sorry, I'm not sure what that word means, gentrification. Haven't heard that commonly used, but if we're talking about equal opportunity to succeed in life, I believe that everyone should have the personal liberty and the opportunity, and the government should never play a role in restricting their ability to advance in life.
Okay. Next question.
Yes, my name is Mike Sweetie. This question is for the candidates in District 26. I'd like to know from both of them their positions on right-to-work legislation.
Who's in 26? Okay. Right to work, Ms. Reinberg.
Okay, as you all know, do you all know what right to work basically is? Open shop, having an open shop. Right now Alaska is a closed shop, which means if you decide to become a municipal employee, then you join a union. My position on right to work, I'm open-minded in regards to this. I think that we need to encourage economic development in Alaska and do what we can do to provide as much competition for our economic future to thrive up here in Alaska.
Right to work is really something that you have to think about the whole group when being in human resources. When the employees of a company decide that they want to be represented by a union and they have a secret vote, secret ballot, and they vote to go union, then allowing people to come in who don't pay union dues and who don't participate in that process then can weaken the union. And so the will of the employees who have voted to go union then is not really being respected when you come to a right to work legislation. So especially, I know it's hard because when some people want to go to work for an employer but they don't want to be a member of the union, that's part of the decisions you make when you apply for a job and when you decide to go to work for an employer is you look at what the work environment is and what the requirements are going to be of you as an employee and see if that's the right place for you. And I know that that's hard for some people because they say, well, I really don't want to be a member of a union, but you get the rights, you get the benefits, you get you get the raises and so on that come with being a union member, and to get that without being a part of the union. Now that being said, there are times when an agency shop is appropriate, because when I taught at UAA, I was not a member of the union because I'm a human resource professional. It was against my professional ethics, so I paid my dues, but there were certain, I didn't vote, I was not a voting member of the union. So, I have to be honest and qualify that.
Okay, and I'm being told we're going to give Ms. Vaught a second question, since you weren't familiar with the first question. Can we pass the mic back down to Ms. Vaught? What is your position on ACEs?
On ACEs, I think that we have to make Alaska competitive globally, and we have to make adjustments to our tax structure. That could be in the form of tax credits, it could be in the form of production incentives, but I do think that we have to make adjustments, and we need to do it now in this next legislative session, and I would like to be part of that.
Okay. And now, so we get done on time, we're going to go to everybody's closing statement. Anybody who's in line for a question, we're going to have the Senate candidates come up next, so we'd ask you to maybe put your question forward to them. We can just start down, if we just pass the mic down to Ms. Bachmeyer. We'll give each candidate 1 minute to finish up the thoughts and add anything you might have wanted to express that you didn't get a question on. You have 1 minute to tell us whatever's on your mind.
Okay, thank you. Well, again, my name is Barbara Bachmeyer, and I'm running for District 13, State House, Muldoon and Elmendorf Air Force Base. One thing that's particularly important to me is getting a handle on the energy resources that we have in our state. And what a great day it was when I saw that former Governor Murkowski now has come to my position, which has always been, we need a large diameter natural gas in-state, all-Alaska pipeline down to Tidewater for use within our state and also for export to Japan. And I really would like to be a part of the legislature to help with that. I spent 5.5 years of my Army career in the East Asian countries of Korea and Japan, and so I'm competent with the language, I'm competent with the culture, and I know a lot about the mechanisms of the Japanese way of doing business. So I'm thrilled that now I have other people on board with me on that topic, and I would really like to be a part of the legislature to help that come to be. So again, District 13, Barbara Bachmeyer, and my materials are in the back. Thank you.
My name is Dick Trini. I'm running for House District 15. I'd appreciate consideration on Election Day. I've worked in this town for a lot of years. I've been on the Assembly 14 years, and I've seen what the state does to us. And sometimes it's not the best thing we need to have done. We need to have people down there that represent Anchorage across the state. And she's right, we do need to get a gas line, but the gas line's got to come down through Fairbanks down to Tidewater. Because if you've been up there, those people are dying when they have to pay the price of fuel up there. It's got to go there and then down to here to Tidewater. I don't care whether it's Seward, Whittier, down to Kenai. The gas needs to come down. Here's a pipe dream. I think you can send the lower 48 with all the shale oil that's down there and being developed constantly. It's got to come down here. We've got to sell it to the Pacific Rim because that's the future of Alaska. We're a rich resource state. We need to get that money to where it can do Alaska some good. So I'd appreciate your vote on November. Thank you.
Well, I appreciate your coming. I'm Andy Josephson, running for the State House, obviously, and one of the things I've brought to my campaign is a great deal of passion. And that's been evidenced by the support I've gotten from a variety of organizations and associations. It's been evidenced by my knocking on about 3,000 doors. I've worked terribly hard to get to know people and be accessible to people. And, you know, my predecessor, I hope, Representative Gardner, that was sort of her hallmark, and I want to echo that and repeat that performance. I think that I would also, I suppose, reiterate my fellow candidate's position. I agree that we need a large diameter gas line and a spur line. Thank you.
Hello and thanks for coming. Again, my name is Jimmy Crawford. I'm a candidate running for the State House in District 16 in the Midtown area. Really the three issues that I want to be focusing on, Juneau, is education reform, getting capitalization for small business so that we can be creating an environment that's friendly to business and is promoting job creation and job availability for folks, young folks coming out of the university included, and also for getting our oil tax structure in a place that makes sense for the state. Thank you.
Thanks so much to the call that organized this forum. I'm Harriet Drummond. I'm running for House District 16, as is Mr. Crawford. I've been a small business owner for over 30 years and a homeowner in West Anchorage since 1984. From knocking on doors all summer, I know that my neighbors are concerned about education, roads, public safety, and yes, garbage collection and snow removal, as well as jobs, taxes, and revenues. After serving 9 years on the school board, I worked at the neighborhood level with my community council on local issues such as liquor licenses, road improvements, and parks. I love Alaska. I love where I live in Alaska. We've got unique neighborhoods, vibrant business districts, great parks and trails, and all kinds of shopping, dining, and entertainment. It would be an honor to serve my community at the state level. I'm Harriet Drummond, and I appreciate your vote if you live in House District 16. If you don't, you got till October 6th to re-register there. Thank you.
Alice Guerra, to make it short, I agree with everything that Harriet just said, and I'm going to touch on what's going to dominate the airwaves over the next 60 days. That's oil taxes. Oil companies are going to spend millions on trying to buy the biggest oil tax decrease they can. The governor supports a bill that gives away $2 billion a year in oil revenue, and it does not require oil companies to spend that money here. That's a big mistake. The last time we had a 0% production tax on most fields, companies were facing and producing a decline of about 5 to 8% a year through the pipeline when taxes were 0. That's going to continue again under the governor's proposal. I supported, and the Democrats in the House supported, a bill that said you can have a tax break only if you invest in the state of Alaska. You can't take the money to Libya in Iraq. If you invest in processing facilities, in new wells, in exploration, we'll give you a tax break. But if you're going to take the money out of the state, no thank you. And that's the big difference between the governor's proposal and the one the oil companies are going to push on TV, and the one they're going to attack people for not agreeing with on TV during the election. Thank you.
My name is Mia Costello. I currently serve in the state legislature, and it certainly is an honor and a privilege, and I've enjoyed that opportunity. One of the priorities that I bring to the legislature is economic diversification. Last session, my bill passed making Alaska the most successful or attractive state in the union for certain types of fast-growing businesses, which I think is important for providing jobs for young people when they graduate from great schools like this one here. I do believe that the economy is our #1 priority, and Scott Goldsmith at the Institute of Social and Economic Research has said 1/3 of our jobs come from the federal government, 1/3 from the oil industry, and 1/3 in all other areas. I think that providing increased throughput in our pipeline will affect every single issue that is important to Alaskans, from roads to education to everything that the government does. So I look forward to answering any questions you may have. My phone number is 227-5276 if you have any questions. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Lisa Vaught. I'm a candidate for House District 22. I do think that the #1 issue that's going to be brought up is oil flow through the pipe. It's also oil tax structure. But going door to door, I haven't heard people say this is their #1 issue. What Alaskans care about are jobs. They care about whether or not they have one. They care about public safety. They care about speeding through their neighborhoods, about the crack house down the street. They care about the quality of schools and whether or not their kids will have the skills to get a good job. They care about windstorms and power outages, and they care about energy costs, and they care about the amount of their PFD, and so do I. I care about what the future of the state of Alaska is going to look like for my children, for your children, for my grandchildren, and your grandchildren. I would be privileged to have your vote if you live in House District 22 in November, and you can vote bought.
My name is Bob Lynn. First thing I'd like to congratulate you. We're putting this together. Here we have the college Republicans, the college Democrats. How about that? Working together, not as a coalition, but to educate the public about this very important election all the way. It's important in Washington, D.C. with the president. It's important down here in Alaska. We have to make this place competitive. The first issue to me is public safety. And I'll tell you why. Because if you don't survive, because of the police and the fire department and first responders, doctors, and nurses, if you don't survive all these other issues, like oil taxes, etc., it doesn't matter much if you're not around to argue, discuss, and discuss it. So that's my first one. I do believe we need to make Alaska more competitive on everything I can on that. And I think I've done a pretty good job in the legislature. Thank you. And I really would appreciate the honor of your vote on November 6th. And thank you very much.
Thank you again. My name is Anand Dubey. I'm running for House from District 19, West Anchorage. I'm a family man, businessman. I've got a master's in business and in chemical engineering. I will say this, everything I've got today, I've had to work very hard for. There were no handouts for me, none of that. And there's two parties here on this table, Republicans and Democrats, and everybody is saying the identical thing. But I will say this to you, please check everybody's record. Everybody here has a record. Go to votesmart.org. There's other places, because politicians will come to your door and say anything to get elected. So the decision really is up to us as citizens to kind of give everybody a report card, help the people who are going to be helping us, and the other ones should be getting the boot. So please check everybody's record on this table. Thank you very much.
Hi, I'm Patty Higgins again. I'm running in the Abbott Loop area. I came to Alaska in 1958 when I was in kindergarten at Polaris at Fort Richardson. It's the longest I ever lived in one place. We came back in '83. The quality of life is really important to me. My 3 issues are jobs for Alaskans, supporting our infrastructure and improving our infrastructure, and then everything rolls back to education for me, because if you don't have education, all these issues that we're talking about won't mean anything. So the university is crucial to Anchorage and to Alaska. It is an economic engine for our state. For all of you, when you graduate, the quality of this university will follow you through your years. It adds panache to your resume. It gives you credibility when you go to get a job. I support education from pre-K all the way through the university. We want people in Juneau who can work together. Thank you.
All right. Lance Pruitt, I'm running over in District 25. And I do want to voice the same thing that Representative Lynn did. Thank you guys for putting this together. The Democrat-Republican Party groups that are here on UAA, you're giving people the opportunity to hear from us because you guys are our future. And I think that's the most important. Every election you'll hear people say, this is the most important election. Why? Because every election is the most important election. We're making decisions that affect your future. So when people come to your door, make sure that you ask them, are you doing this for the next 2 years? Are you doing this so that you can get reelected? Is this a job for you? Or are you doing this because this is our future and you're concerned about the next 10 years? I'm doing this because I got 2 kids, a 6-year-old and a 3-year-old. I want them to have the same opportunities that I've had in this great state. I want to make sure when they go into the workforce that there's jobs ready for them. And we've got to act now if we want to have jobs ready for the people that are coming out in the future. So thank you for holding this. I appreciate it. And please make sure that you get out and vote.
Hello, my name's Chris Eichenlaub Jr. Running for House District 18 in downtown Anchorage. I also would like to thank the college Republicans and college Democrats for inviting me here today and putting on this forum. My biggest issue of this election is going to be the protection and preservation of individual liberty. I really feel that our federal government's out of control and has lost a respect for the individual. And I would like to ask for your vote. Thank you.
My name is Laura Reinbold, and I'm running in Eagle River. And I just want to make a few comments in regards to a fiscal plan for Alaska. There's 2 sides to the ledger. One that feeds, pays the bills, and then some that take away. Resources end up paying for our bills right now. Of course, all of us would like a diversified economy, but we've got to face reality. That's what funds us right now. 2 of the main areas that use a lot of those funds is education and healthcare. And people that want that funding for healthcare and want education need to not make that disconnect between what feeds them. So, right now, resources feeds them. So we, as Alaskans, we need to understand that we need to have a very good business environment for people who do have private resource dollars to invest in Alaska to please welcome those dollars here in Alaska. In regards to my website, I really want to encourage you guys to go to my website. It's reinboldforalaska.com. And if you have any friends in Eagle River, encourage them to vote bold.
Hi, my name is Roberta Goffner. I want to just talk a little bit about what we heard earlier, and that's that the University of Alaska is an economic engine. And what it means to be an economic engine is not only does the University of Alaska provide education, the university also brings in money to help support itself. And so it's really important to realize how that's very important to our community, because not only do you provide an education, but there are jobs as well that helping to enrich the community. So I think it's really important as we look at the budget and talk about what role UAA plays, is to realize that this is not an expense, this is an investment when we spend money with UAA. So again, my name is Roberta Goffner. I'm running from Eagle River District 26. I'd also like you to encourage you to look at my website, well, after you look at Laura's. It's www.electrobertag.net. Thank you.
All right, I've been asked to see if we can get the 2 gentlemen have been standing waiting for a question. If you want to ask a candidate or a set of candidates a question, we'll give them a minute to answer and then get a quick answer. So we know you guys have been waiting in line a long time. So go ahead.
Thank you for your civil service, trying to be elected into the government. This is actually for the Senate, and the House would like to talk about it. It's addressing the prisoner reentry system. There's an education system that's finally being implemented from the school district into the jail systems to educate the high school. But my bigger question is, recidivism is at its all-time high, 60–80%. And that means that in the first 2 years, the person who makes the first offense gets turned back into the prison. Now we are exporting our prisoners to the lower 48, and now, of course, the prison budget system that was here prior to last year was a big controversial subject. So my big question is, if elected to the Senate, as prior to other states that have made Senate laws for prisoner reentry system, which is Michigan, New York, California, and Hawaii, what is Alaska going to do in order to lower the recidivism because it's increasing each year?
All right, you want to direct that to one particular race?
Let's go with the Senate.
None of the people on stage are running for Senate.
Okay. House, feel free, anyone.
No, I mean, okay, Anand, go ahead.
We're throwing too many people in jails. That's the biggest issue. And we need to deregulate. We can't, you send a guy there for his minor crime, he goes in there and then becomes a master criminal. So really there has to be massive amounts of deregulation. Prisons are big business. We are spending about $70,000 per prisoner to house them and feed them. That's the issue. And that's the best way to answer that.
Okay. All right, can we you want to take a shot at that? Okay. And then we'll move on to the next gentleman and get a quick answer to his question. Go ahead.
One of the things that a lot of people don't know about the prison system, it is the largest provider of mental health services in the state. And so that tells you one of the problems we have in our prison, and I think that using the mental health courts as we have, and finding other ways to help those people who wouldn't be in jail except for the fact that they have issues that are not being addressed through the mental health system. And so we should address mental health issues through the mental health system, and we should address criminal issues through the criminal courts and the jail system.
Okay, thank you. Next gentleman, go ahead. Go ahead, speak to the mic.
Sorry about that. I just get to my second thing as here. Forgive me. Anyway, I heard one of you folks talking about economy stuff, and I come from a small village where it's worth just to get a gallon of milk, and the gas prices is, forgive the language, but darn near double what it is here. And this kind of randomly popped into my head because I, got drawn to the huge cart here. But if anyone can answer this question, that would be nice. But how far would the help for the economy go? Because there's over 200 villages in Alaska, and I understand that Anchorage is a big part of Alaska, but that's not it. I mean, Alaska belongs to the people, not to a dictatorship. I mean, this is, king-queen type scenario, but, because my ancestors were here first, and our world never revolved around a dollar bill, as opposed to now. But I wonder if anyone can answer this question now. Would the help for the economy go as far as the villages, or is it just in Anchorage?
Well, why don't we direct that to Mr. Trini, Mr. Josephson, and Mr. Trini to talk about prices in interior Alaska and rural Alaska. Why don't we have the two of you answer that question? Can we pass the mic down there?
Thanks. For the economy to work, it's got to be everybody. It's the villages and the main cities. And Alaska is the largest native village in Alaska, Anchorage is. But there's the smaller villages. My son-in-law's from a little town on Kodiak Island, Old Harbor. And he ended up coming here because there weren't any jobs in Old Harbor other than fishing. And when the Exxon Valdez hit and spilled, the fishing was over for a long time, so he's now his principal in one of the schools here in town. But you've got to have an economy grow in all the villages too, because otherwise the kids have no future. And we've got to take care of the villages first.
Okay. Mr. Joseph, well, his opponent's about to answer. Go ahead, Mr. Joseph.
First of all, I appreciate your question very much. I spent 3 years living upriver from Bethel and Calscad, and I know what those prices are like for fuel oil and gasoline when I pumped up my snow machine and I pushed 55-gallon drums into place so I could stay warm. I've experienced all of that, and there are a couple of things that come to mind. One of them is there's been articles recently about using the electrical grid in a manner such that we can power sort of at least the river systems, the Yukon, the Kuskokwim. And the other discussion would be about, of course, having additional spur lines. Those are all things we can think about. In terms of economic development, I think that there are tourism opportunities. I think there are things like sensible mining development, like the Red Dog mine, and I emphasize it, sensible mining development. Mining that makes sense and doesn't compromise other industries. So I think there are things that can be done in rural Alaska. And you know, I look forward, I've got my heart there, I've spent time in Kotzebue as well as a prosecutor. I know about the hardships, and I look forward to doing what I can for rural Alaska.
Thank you. Okay, and that was the final question for the House candidates. We're going to switch out the candidates we can send it up there. So let's give a round of applause to everybody who showed up.